Good morning. I've been speaking to you folks about fraud, and specifically fraud would be, a form of fraud would be to deceive me to get me to pay for somebody else's debt. So what if we have two beans, both with the exact same name? Well, then we'd have to ask which bean owes the debt. Because if I paid for the bean with the exact same name that wasn't mine, well, that would be paying somebody else's debt, and to trick me or to induce me to do that would be fraud. So the question I have to ask is, which bean owes the debt? The bean I am, or the other bean that I appear for? And I'm going to kind of show you how this word appear works, because that's a tricky one. But the first thing is, you didn't know there were two beans with the exact same name, the one you are and the other one you appear for. So the truth is the truth. You can only be who you are. You can't change who you are by appearing for someone else. Even if you were to appear for someone else, you can't be that someone else. It's impossible to be someone else just because you appear for them. If you appear for someone else, you can't owe someone else's debts. It's just impossible. Can't do it. So there's two beans here in this picture. I'm going to show you how the word appear works. So we've got Ron Hocevar over here on the left, and we've got state of Minnesota over here on the right. So we've got two beans, and when Ron goes to court, he appears as the state of Minnesota. Now he's not the state of Minnesota, he's just appearing, pretending to be the state of Minnesota. And if the state of Minnesota had a debt, well, Ron would know it. That's simple pie. Okay, what if Ron's parents had named him state of Minnesota instead of Ron? Okay, well, we still have two beans. Okay, now it's going to be a little trickier because they're both called state of Minnesota. Which bean are you talking about? Which bean owes the debt? So Ron would go to court and he goes, "Hi, I'm state of Minnesota," appearing as state of Minnesota. And go like, well, that's kind of odd, that's funny, but Ron still wouldn't owe the political entity, state of Minnesota's debts if it had a debt. Why? Because he's only appearing as it. Even if they have the same name, Ron could never be obligated to pay for state of Minnesota's debt that he's appearing for. It just wouldn't be right. It wouldn't work. So here's two indisputable facts. Ron Hocevar can never be what he's appearing for. And guess what? Neither can you. Ron Hocevar can never be obligated to pay for a debt who he's appearing for. And guess what? Neither can you. You cannot be obligated to pay for that debt. So, could you be a person if you chose to appear as one? Well, let's take a look. So here's an example of a Scott County property tax document. Flip it over, and on the back side you'll see this. If you wanted to challenge your valuation, under option 1 right there, it says you may appear in person. Oh, there's that word appear. I may appear in person. So I guess I can't be a person if I have to appear in person, but let's take a look at how this works. So here we go. We have two beans, me and the thing I'm going to go appear as over here on the right. So I got two beans, but in this case, they are both named John Miser. So I put on my mask, just like Ron did. I put it on. There I am in court. I've got my little mask on. And I go, "Hi, I'm appearing in person for John." Well, I can't be the person named John. Why? Because I'm only appearing as it. And if the person has a debt, well, I can't be obligated to pay his debt because I'm just appearing as him and we both have the same name. Okay, starting to see it? It's tricky. I know it. Here you go. You get a traffic ticket. I got a traffic ticket here, and it says the defendant has got a debt. You've got the right to appear in court. There's that word appear. You've got the right to appear in court as what? Well, you can appear in court as a defendant to challenge this traffic ticket. Okay, let's take a look at how that works. So here we go. We got two beans again. There I am on the left. There's the defendant on the right. And you have to appear in court for the defendant. So there I am on the left side. I put my mask on. Hi, I'm appearing as the defendant. I can't be the defendant. I'm only appearing for the defendant. If the defendant has a debt, I can't be obligated to pay his debt. I'm only appearing for him. Just like Ron. See, Ron's got his mask over there, and he's appearing for the state of Minnesota. He can't be the state of Minnesota. He's just appearing as it. So, I've repeatedly asked all the public servants, all you public servants, this direct question of you all. Which of the two beings named John Miser Jr. owes the property tax, or any debt for that matter of fact? Me or the person who I've appeared for in person? To date, you've just ignored me and not answered this question. Concealing the truth is no longer an option. You, as public servants, must answer the question of who owes the debt, because there are two beings with the exact same name. And if you were to acquire my property by fraud, well, that's a crime. And how would you acquire my property by fraud, you say? By getting me to pay for somebody else's debt. So the only way I can figure out that, to stop this fraud is to ask you a question. Whose debt is it? And when I've done this to date at a public meeting, you've intimidated me with law enforcement when I've asked this question in public. You've ridiculed me for bringing up this question, or you've completely blown me off. But you must answer my question of which being named John Thomas Miser Jr. owes the property tax debt. Why? Because fraud's to make a false statement, to have knowledge of the truth, to have an intent to deceive, to expect my reliance on that false statement, and to cause me damage if I give up my property under false pretenses. So specifically, the crime of fraud is an attempt to induce me to give you my property based on a deception. What's the deception? Everybody thinking there's just one being by your name, when in fact there's a second being whom you can only appear to be, who has the exact same name. You trick me to pay for another being's debt who has this exact same name as me, who I've only appeared for in person, and yet you trick me to pay for his debt, fooling me to think it's my debt, because our names are exactly the same. Plus before, I didn't know what it meant to appear for in person, or to appear as the defendant, or to make an appearance. Before, I just thought I was the person, or the defendant. But now, I do know the difference. I was only appearing for them. Just like Ron Hocevar when he appears for the state of Minnesota. He's only appearing, pretending to be. So was I. So hence my question. Is the property tax debt mine? Or is it the person's or defendant's debt who I've been previously or appearing for? There's two beings with the exact same name. So which one owes the debt? You've got to tell me which one owes the debt. Is it me or the one who I've appeared for? Because to acquire my property by fraud is a crime. And the name is the same, so you must disclose which entity owes the debt. Thank you very much.